Hello everyone, this is Cookies, and it's a new day, and we got a new turn. Turn 17. Looks like it just rolled. We got a couple of people already hopping in to do their turns, or at least take a look. Let's go ahead and take a look ourselves. So we got two messages this turn. First one is from Agartha. Just nibbling away at these wars, going to try and take 3 thrones for myself while everyone is busy. To set up a good mid-game, since everyone has pretenders in stacks, there's not really been any decisive results from these early wars, and my plan is to always take this late game where my summons and spells are strongest. My first major push will be in a few turns when I have a Sepulcher stack ready. Interesting. Because I feel like everything I've ever heard about late age Agartha is that they don't scale well into the late game. So I'm really interested to see what this Agartha has planned. Okay. Would love to have some expectations broken. Alright. From Satis. I managed to catch Marignon in one of my barb traps this turn. It was very nice to watch the troops run into 100 barbs that will come back next turn since I won. Although I am still holding out, I will point out that I have nearly 0 research, so I know my turns are numbered. I negotiated with my neighbors to hand off some land to avoid anyone fully committing to my death, while I can run at Mary to try and do as much damage as possible. I'll probably keep my little 4-province empire for a while, as no one seems to want to dedicate too much to my death, just my crippling. Once Mary gets big elements, I think it'll be GG though. Okay. I mean, there are some possibilities for counterattacks, but yeah, I generally agree. I think it's going to be very tough, but maybe doing the odd counterattack into Marignon could work out. I think part of that is getting enough chariot mass to conduct those raids, to just like trample over reinforcements, maybe get into the back line. It's going to be really tough though, because that virtue can just be everywhere, and Satis had that unfortunate incident with his Black Dragon finding a few Dark Vines right at the end of expansion. Alright, we got a new Prophet from Satis. Alright, and we've got a fair number of battles here. So Satis attacking, and this is good to see, I think, from a player who's down, is he got a victory and he's trying to capitalize on it a bit to pull some territory back. So we've got an army moving out. We do have some of the chariots out on the left flank. We have a bunch of slingers, some expendable barbs out front, some attacker bait for the virtue. I mean, I think all these barbarians are going to get poisoned to death, so maybe they could have been in a separate squad, but and maybe not in front of the slingers. So does lose 20 barbarians, but otherwise takes the province. And he's also counterattacking in Bell, or pinging Bell, and doesn't see much. Okay. We've got Man attacking Hailmire. Finally retaking his forest, which I've been wanting him to do for a few turns now. Looks like we're going to rely on maybe a little bit of point buffing, some Mistform, a little bit of Blur. We've got a few Wardens, and he's going to try to efficiently kill these werewolves. Doesn't get great contact on the werewolves. Does have the Lord Warden out in front, though, which could help. If he's lucky, the squad will rout. Is this guy fatigued out? He's still fatigued out. And he's bleeding, so he's likely dead. Okay, but they are routing. So they're not going to get the mages, aside from this one. Alright, so let's see if this guy bleeds out. Oh, he survives. And without afflictions, too. Okay. So that actually goes pretty well, but that could have been a lot closer than the report suggests. Alright, we've got a barbarian attack. Getting in on the counterattack against Marignon. They must have heard about the defeat to Sidis and trying to take advantage. Then Tianqi. Hopefully this is attacking Patala. Okay, so he's attacking Patala. And he gets mostly... I think this is all PD. So Patala getting caught out away from his capital again. Alright. So just loses a couple of Barb Heavy Horsemen. Takes out 30 PD. That's a lot of gold for Patala. 133 units that they probably could have used in a defense with more quality stuff helping anchor and protect them. Although, yeah. And maybe they could have been taking some lance charges from all this stuff. And we've got, ooh, and we've got the shipbreaker mercs. Okay, so I think this is the death knell from Patala. Really good to see Tianqi get that killer instinct back. Few Keshegs. 21 Ancestor Vessels, 63 Barb Heavy Horse. And it might take him some time to come up with something to kill the Patala army that's running around. But just starving the Patala army of money means that any of the non-sacred troops, which is most of these Patala stacks, will start deserting. So they will lose strength over time, and you can bleed them out with Barb Heavy Horsemen. Maybe get some Ancestor Vessels in. Maybe the cat could rotate out and pitch in. Alright. Yeah, everything just gets easier once you lock down someone's cap like that, especially if they've got no other forts. Alright. These cavemen don't have a leader, so they run. Then we've got Marignon attacking some independents. So the Virtue showing up. Taking on cavemen. I am curious, because cavemen do tend to have pretty decent morale. The leader is in the back, though, so he could get sniped. With Mistform in 16, 31 protection versus Mundane. But they hit for 28. Could take an unlucky hit if they get through the off-5 check. How does it say? I forget. I think it was like, it's a base morale +5 for the morale. I just forget what it is specifically. But I think the owl will pitch in against a lot of people. Virtue should win this, but it could get unlucky, and it doesn't have a lot of well, I take that back. It's got 56 HP. It's in Dominion, but it could get unlucky, but I'm not expecting it to. Oh, it's just gonna tank the whole group. Immediately loses Mistform. Oh my gosh, that's unlucky. Okay. Repels 2 attacks. On negates 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 attacks. Repels. Negates 3 more. Get another repel. Attack roll 30 versus 17. 28 points of damage. Wait, did that not actually do any damage, though? I'm confused. Because the... Oh, it damaged the cavemen. Okay, but I thought repels were capped at 1 damage. Does it still roll it even though Awe negated it? These logs are kind of weird. This guy hit the virtue for 1 point. Was it that 1 point of damage? Weird. Well, if somebody understands what happened here, hopefully I've showed enough of the log. But regardless, Mistform's gone now. Where's the commander? Over here? Okay. So he's likely to filter in and get killed. Alright, he does filter in and get killed. Alright, so the Virtue wins, but did lose Mistform. Was a little bit more interesting than I thought it would be. Alright. So the Virtue takes out some cavemen. We've got Atlantis going into the underground, looting some Satis land. And then also Barren Crags. Yeah, these are the werewolf mercs. And Cerulean Sea. Very nice. This is what I've been wanting to see from Atlantis. So he's clearing up a lot of this kind of like lingering expansion stuff, which is great. Oh, he attacked Underhome, but gets attacked in Underhome. That'll be interesting. All right, in Kafir, Pyrene attacks Agartha. All right, so I think these troops were from Pyrene's capital. It's a number of footmen and crossbows. We've got Calum looting the Swamp of Solitude from Satis, which is that fort. Although the poison slingers are going to take a toll. Okay. Let's see, that was here. So loses 24 Raven Guard, mostly to poison. Then we've got two indie attacks on man. So first one in Kibia, We've got some dogs. Should defend this, I think. Oh, well, but might lose a mage. That was... Gosh, it was like those dogs were scripted. Alright, so loses a Magister Arcane, which is 240 gold. With Bergamum, we've got another dog attack going after Satis, but runs into the army. Which just means the rest of the barbarians got poisoned. Yeah, so the rest of the barbarians die. 5 helps die. Maybe the Satis Scales troops might need a little bit more PR for their own slingers sometimes. Alright. With Black Peaks, we've got yet more dogs. They defend though. And then in Underhome, another dog attack. They score a kill. Okay. So they killed the last sacred in this group. Alright. So the underground is starting to fill out a bit. We've got 4 Agarthan provinces. We've got 4 Marinese provinces. We've got 4 Atlantean provinces, 1 Satis, 2 Tianqi, 3 Man, and 2 Kalum. The independents still control 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So independents still control a fair amount of this, but they're starting to lose ground. We're down to just 4 cavemen provinces. Those have been the ones that people have mostly been waiting on. Otherwise, it's generally been circumstances. Moving above ground. Oh, the Patala army went inside the fort but did not patrol. Well, this is ideal for Tianqi then, because now they can freely raid all this land. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'd get out there, finish raiding all this. Patala just handed this. Okay. I mean, you gotta watch out for the PD dumps. Don't forget about those. You got a 34 PD dump here, 34 here, 30 here. So, I mean, it's a lot of PD to clean up. But, and I'm not sure if you can afford the Tiger leaving this siege. One thing, I mean, you do have the option of trying to dom kill Patala. We've got 1 candle here, 1 here, 3. Well, actually. Alright, so what's the failed laboratory experiment? Because we've got a temple here. Okay, so we've got 3 candles here. 4, 5, 6, 7. Atlanta's kind of pushing from the other side, though. This is someone else's dominion. There's not a lot of candles here. I think Tianqi just dom kills Patala. You don't even have to fight their army. Okay, so the most important thing now for Tianqi is to get these other cavalry formations up to the front and finish raiding the rest of this, and then cracking this fort as quickly as possible. Once you have the capital, you can potentially bully other people out of like vultured gains. Although it's easier if you just take the stuff first. I'm not sure if his army beats the Patala army, but once the siege goes a turn or two, it should it should be fine because Patala's facing desertion right now for their non-sacred troops. But I do think you want the cat here to kill the sacreds. So maybe you can split off some of the barb heavy horsemen to go raid this stuff is probably what I would do. And I mean, you've got another 40 troops here. Like, get this stuff to the front line, get raiding, and clean this up. So fortunately, Man's pretty busy. If Man does vulture, you might be able to bully him back out of it. Although you want to be careful doing that with a lot of players, because you can unless you're willing to fight future wars or face future coalitions organized by them. Generally, a little bit of vulturing is okay, but you don't. If you have the option to not put up with it, then don't put up with it. It's definitely not good for relations between players. So if I'm hopeful of having a good relationship with a player in the future, typically I won't vulture, or I'll vulture very little, and I'll normally ask them about it beforehand. So let's see. All right. So yeah, Tianqi's completely turned this around. They're in the driver's seat. So Patala not defending their capital. I think if I were Patala, I would have rather defended the outside. Because you're just going to lose all the initiative. You're going to lose these PD dumps. You're going to lose... I would rather just lose outside the fort than just sit in the fort hoping for an eventual like fight in the gate. The other piece of that is all of these are horse archers, so fighting in the gate might actually not be very effective for you. Depends if they choose to waste their arrows on the wall archers, since the wall archers have a tower shield effect in place from the wall. But generally, the side with more missile troops has an advantage inside of a fort. So yeah, we do see the shipwrecker bid here. All right, so Tianqi back in the driver's seat. They need to clean up these PD dumps. They got to be a little bit careful. They don't want to weaken their sieging force too much, because there probably is a significant Patala force inside. And I think if, unless Patala is just kind of giving up, if they see, that they're losing troops to desertion, they might try to sally. So, but I feel like this was a mistake, where they probably should have defended the 30 PD dump on the cap and just taken the fight, for better or worse. But I mean, that's just different play styles. A lot of people like taking fights inside of the fort where they feel they have an advantage. I tend to prefer fighting outside forts if I can manage. All right. So there's that. And then we've got Atlantis, who's just been happily vulturing. Does have a loot opportunity. That's generally how I view Bogus, although I would not like him being on my nicest farmland. That is for sure. But killing Bogus and his crew, I mean, they have a lot of really nice gear on them. I would bring as many commanders as possible. I'd bring a lot of squads too. The Dark Knight has a tendency to rout even very large squads. It's a very strong fear effect. I would not put everyone in a line. I would do multiple, probably like small lines or boxes. And because you got to kill the Dark Knight and still have enough troops, because he's probably going to rout a squad or two. And then you still need to have enough stuff left to go make the push on the rest of the Bogus crew. And then you want a lot of commanders to be able to pick up loot. So, and it's kind of nice that this is in between two forts where he's got a lot of recruitment going on. So hopefully he'll be able to clean this up pretty quickly and maybe get that loot going. All right. The other aspect is we're starting to see these Atlantean forts come up. He's got 2 under construction in the water here, one under construction in the water here. Any more on land? Okay. The other thing is Satis is like heat 4. The Marion's also heat. Vitala is heat. Tianchi is heat. Man is heat. Agartha is heat. Pyrene is heat. So Caelum's the only other, I think, cold nation on the map. Atlantis is going to want a lot of forts and a lot of temples to spread their dominion, because otherwise all their Ice Guard are just going to be defensive formations. It's going to be very hard for him to attack people, because these forts get weaker if hot dominion pushes in. Although they've got excellent wall integrity right now. But, I mean, he's got just a normal castle here, which is really nice. But yeah, it's really going to be having to try and push dominion this game, considering all of his neighbors are heat dominion. He's only got one diagonal neighbor in Caelum, who's also cold. So it's going to be a lot of dominion pressure and dominion wars for Atlantis. All right. And then, but yeah, he's retaken these gems, which I've been wanting to see for a couple of turns. He's finally put down Cerulean Sea. He's gotten into this cave. I think that was a little bit ago, but he did get into this cave, so he's looting the Satis stuff. Although there might be some Zots here trying to loot Satis. But I think this TNG stuff should not be down here. Although maybe he's protecting a lab or planning to build a fort there. That should have been over here trying to get Patala. And then, let's see, and this group, probably not enough to kill these cavemen. But sometimes, maybe you can do a little bit of indie recruitment down here to get enough stuff to clean this out. But yeah, Atlantis looking pretty solid right now. Should have a few new forts up very soon. We'll have some space to build another temple, which is important. Another thing Atlantis is going to need to do is he's really going to have to look at taking some thrones, I think. And what that'll allow him to do is better control Dominion and better project Dominion into other parts of the map. And he's going to have to be pretty careful. You don't want to push Dominion super strong into everyone necessarily, because you might make a lot of enemies that way. But if you can kind of angle it based on where you're putting your temples, it's not really perfect, but in some ways you can aim Dominion a little bit. And so if you concentrate temples on a particular border, perhaps you can try and push some Dominion in there, maybe get some priests going. And maybe you wanted to push Dominion into Agartha, and then you could attack Agartha, stuff like that. So I think maybe forting Cerulean Sea, getting a temple in there is another good idea. So I think for Atlantis, it's going to be a big Dominion game, because we've got a lot of hot nations in this game. All right. For Agartha, Agartha's also looking at thrones. They took the Throne of Fortune. They haven't claimed it yet, but they are starting to build a fort, so they must have come to some sort of arrangement with Caelum that they felt safe enough to build this fort, because the army is already walking away, and the army is, I think, wandering over here to the Golden Throne, which would be an amazing haul for Agartha. So if we take a look at Agartha's lineup, Astral Fire is not something that they've got. They've got the Alchemist, who is a fire mage. They've got a lot of fire, death, crosspath for stuff like Banefire. But I mean, this is an astral random. It's not consistent, and you're not going to get fire and astral off this. So fire astral from the adepts is going to be a very nice addition. It'll give consistent high astral, consistent high fire, which, you know, fire 2 is, you know, reasonably high. You can generally do most of the things you want to do with fire 2. But maybe you want to do some more stuff with, you know, high fire. Maybe you want to like set up a firestorm trap, stuff like that. You'll have an anti-magic caster, which is really nice for Agartha. So yeah, I think this will be a nice haul. Is it as nice as maybe the Crystal Throne would be? I mean, Agartha's got Earth. They don't have Glamour. I think I'd rather have the Adepts rather than the Crystal Mage, because the Adepts get Magic Phase. But, I mean, Crystal Mage would also be a really nice haul, because it would open up Glamour in a big way for Agartha, which could be really nice. Especially since they have Blind Fighters, and maybe getting an early Twilight, Nightfall, you know, before maybe something like... I forget if that stuff comes online before Darkness. Let's see. Is it in here? I don't think I've played a Glamour Heavy Nation just yet. So is it Alteration? Alright, so Twilight is Alt 4, Nightfall is Alt 5. Darkness is Alt 6. So if you got some of the Twilight stuff up first, using a Glamour Mage, I mean, not only do you break into Glamour, which can help you break into a lot of other paths using Air Queens, but it also, and he's Fire 1, so you could potentially get Winter Queens as well during winter, depending on temp changes. So that'll help break him into nature and air and all sorts of other stuff. And like, yeah, you might have to empower one of these guys in nature, I think, to be able to get the cross pass for Fairy Queen, but it's probably worth it. And if you're Agartha, you're probably running down Conjuration anyways. Oh, I'm not gonna be able to see it for Agartha, but yeah, I think the Crystal Mage would be a really nice way to break into additional magic, whereas the Adept is immediately useful. Some of them can be, yeah, like maybe like you've got your magic phase ones. You get a little bit of air here, which I think you get on your alchemists too. But yeah, I don't know. Adepts are really nice. 400 gold is really nice, but I wouldn't sleep on the Crystal Mage, I think, if I'm thinking of this right. And then Throne of Bureaucracy is really nice for pushing Dominion, and especially keeping Atlantis Dominion out, because, I mean, you don't want these nasty cold scales. Although, I forget if Agartha is naturally cold. Maybe he's okay with a little bit of Dom push early. No, I don't think so. But should be aiming to get some cave forts, I think. So Steel Ovens is a nice haul as well for Agartha. So he's probably going to just keep vulturing a bit, looking at thrones, and maybe trying to fortify underground. He's got a Chthonian outside searching. So, alright. Then for the Man-Pyrene War, this army has not moved. In fact, the boar has moved back to it. So Pyrene raided back against Agartha. Maybe he's annoyed about it, but I mean, this is a tremendous amount of his income as well. A growing number of Cambion Knights. I think Pyrene could kill this stack if it decides to roll into Kefir. He's got enough Cambion Knights. And then man's kind of, I think, patrolling here, maybe gathering his power here. Something I've noticed experienced players like to do is they'll take land and then they'll pull back a bit to see what you put out there in terms of counter raids so that they can kill it. But Pyrene hasn't really struck back at all yet. He did counter raid Sleepy Mountains and killed that little army. But so far seems content with, you know, just fighting over his cap circle largely and showing a healthy respect for the boar that's killed 2 of his Campion Knight parties, or I guess armies, because each one I think had 2 squads of Campion Knights in it. This might be enough. Does he also have mercs? No. This might be enough to go on Pyrene. By the way, I think this is a merc company that TNG could consider bidding on. It's not good for its combat potential, but I think it would have a fair amount of siege strength in it from all the boars. And that could be useful for helping crack Patala. But yeah, maybe I'm assuming man's got scouts over a lot of this. So if there is some sort of fight in Kafir between Agartha and Pyrene, maybe then man will move on Pyrene's cap. We'll have to see. Man seems plenty willing to kind of slow burn this war. He doesn't seem to be in a particular hurry. Gosh, did he get attacked 3? No, he attacked here and got attacked twice here. So he's been eating a lot of indie attacks. He's finished a lot of his construction. He's getting mage recruitment going. Does he need temples for his mages? No, he doesn't. So, yeah, I am curious. He did get his resources back in this forest. I am curious when he'll pull the trigger and try to move on the capital. He might be waiting to see how things work out between Pyrene and Agartha, though. And I wonder if this army is going up to Range of Faith, or if it's going to detour for Kafir. And I do wonder if Pyrene's going to pull all of these Campion Knights to defend it. And they have a little bit of a showdown. I mean, that would be a very entertaining battle, so I'm kind of rooting for it to happen. Okay. And then next up, we've got Calum. Okay, so that was a Satis scout. Way over here. Okay. And what is Calum up to? So Calum just got their 4th fort here. A little bit of loot from Satis. It seems like they've pulled back a bit, though. Satis is sending everything at Bergamum. We've got a Devil's Den here. Actually kind of nice on Marignan. It's in a wasteland. It's not going to cost him too much gold. It gives him a way to get free devils, which he definitely has leadership for and knows how to use. This is a little bit tricky. Tomb Chariots are size 6. Is that enough to try and trample the Virtue? I do wonder. No. I wonder if the Virtue could kill this whole army with the poison ring. Especially if he picks up like Fire Shield. If he can maybe buff regen on the Virtue too, that would go a long way. And then that would essentially neuter Sitis. Like, yeah, he's got PD dumps, but all the barbarians are dead now. It's a little bit of a shame that the Virtue got distracted trying to get a cave province, because although he probably doesn't have Cloud Trapeze yet, but if the Virtue could guess where this army is going, I do wonder if the Virtue could kill the whole army. Okay. Bloodhinge. Ooh. That's real nice. On Marignon? Because I think the only thing they don't really have is nature, right? I mean, I looked through it earlier. The game says they have a little nature. Maybe it's something they summon. But they definitely have Sabbath. So having a blood nature mage that can consistently add itself to Sabbath is very powerful. What a find. Yeah, I don't see any nature here. Oh my goodness. And they're blood 2s, so they're more efficient hunters. And I don't think Marignon gets a lot of blood 2s, do they? Okay, Goetic Masters, but they're slow to recruit. That's slow to recruit. Any consistent blood 2s. That's a random. I wouldn't call a random consistent. We have a consistent blood 1. So we get a more efficient hunter with these Bloodhinge Druids. So I would try to patrol this province to prevent people finding out about it. And we get to add nature to Sabbath consistently. This is a game changer. In my opinion, it's a game changer for Marignon. What a haul. And he's winning his war against Sitis. I do think the Virtue could kill that whole army. I think his regular army could maul it. I'm concerned about the Poison Slingers against his Scales troops. He's got decent scales, so a lot of productivity and order. Doesn't have the growth to really support tons of blood hunting. But it is late age. You've got a lot of population that you can blood hunt. You're going to have some land from Sitis, probably, that you can also blood hunt. You've got a Devil's Den for free devils. It looks like we've had some early blood site searching that's really beginning to pay off for Marignon. I think this is very exciting. He needs to go retake this from barbarians. And then he needs to also keep mobilizing troops towards the Sitis front, because, I mean, this fort is hefty, and Sitis can definitely summon a bunch of crap. Interesting. Okay. I'm really excited to see what Marignon does with that site. So we'll have to just wait and find out, though. I hope they get into blood in a big way. All right. And then, let's see, we've talked about this war, and we've talked about this war. I think that's everything. So, pretty interesting stuff going on. Looking forward to seeing more. And I will see you guys next turn in turn 18. Have a good one, everyone.